Hello guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to my shop. So what I have in my head here is the Microsoft HoloLens. I decided to plug it in, fire it up to see what was going on with it. This is the version 1. Shame to say I did pay like upwards of $3,500 for this piece of tech, about around 2016. I'm seeing hello floating in front of me now. So I've been tinkering with this for about the last, I want to say 10-15 minutes since I got home from work. And what I realized is it says hello, then it shows the Windows symbol, and then it does nothing. So it's no longer giving me the ability to go into the operating system and do anything with the device, which is a shame. So let's go ahead and get this right on up out of here for right now and out of the way. All right, so today is going to be the first episode of what I want to call Daddy Share Space Daily. And a long time ago, just to give you a little bit of background, I used to do Daddy Share Space, the daily shop. And what I would do is when I got home from work, I would come in the shop and I would just start tinkering and doing different things. And over time, I don't know if I slowed down, I don't know if life just got more complicated, but basically I was unable to keep up with that doing the daily shop just for some reason or another. I know one of the things that comes to mind is that basically I had a hard drive failure or something like that, where I was unable to either get the footage off or something. I had to go out and rush and buy a hard drive to move my footage over and to do the video edit, and it pushed the video to later, because basically what I was doing was coming home, I would work in the shop, then I would move up to my office and just start editing a video and put it out that same day. Hence, you know, Daddy Share Space daily shop, right? And I was quite discouraged because I wasn't able to keep up with that. It was kind of like a little, I guess, torture test that I was putting myself through and trying to see if obviously like I could build my channel with that, and then also to get better in the shop. So I was combining multiple things to try to improve on. But with this Daddy Share Space Daily, what I'm hoping to do is be able to get on here on a regular basis. I mean, I would like it to be daily. It may not work out that way, but it gives me an opportunity to kind of interact with the people that do view this channel, and I can answer questions here, but then also I can, you know, kind of give you a little bit of insight into what I'm doing, what direction I'm going in with the shop, where I'm at in different projects, and then also where I'm at as far as like if I plan on purchasing new things or whatever the case may be. Now, the other thing is, I brought this down here for a particular reason. I actually recorded a video about this recently that I never uploaded because I didn't really like where I kind of went with it, so I decided to redo it. And so this is just a small little piece of, you know, information I want to share. So as I said before, I paid $3,500 for this particular project or product. And this actually helped prevent me from spending another $3,500 on the Apple version of this particular device, which my understanding is it's already kind of going downhill as far as, you know, 6 months later. I could see where that product was going to go, because this one promised pretty much the similar type of thing, but it was unable to follow through. Now, setting that aside, just one more point to say about that, then I'll move on with what I wanted to say today. So the part that frustrates me about that is, I have to be honest, as a person who enjoys, you know, whether it be technology and also tools, obviously, I'm disappointed that I spent the money on that particular product. I'm not disappointed that I had the experience. I'm one of the few people that actually was able to say that they owned a Microsoft HoloLens and tinker and toy with it. I never built my coding skills up to the point to where I could really harness a lot out of the machine. And unfortunately, you know, Windows, or Microsoft rather, kind of pivoted and went in a different direction. So it was a developmental device. It was not like a device that actually went out to the general public. So, you know, shame on me, not shame on them. But, you know, you live and you learn. Now, I bring that up, and the reason why it sticks into my brain is because several months ago, now I was on my local Craigslist and I came across the Festool Conturo. And many of you know about Festool. They make a portable edge bander. You can put it in a table and you can handheld edge band your work. It's a very expensive tool. And you know, obviously it's not typically for a DIYer like myself, or most people wouldn't spend that kind of money. And I've been back and forth with my wife talking about it for years now. You'll have to wait and see if I end up getting it, but the bottom line is, if that Microsoft HoloLens actually came out, I looked it up, the same year that the Festool Conturo came out, or around the same time, which is 2016. And it's frustrating to know that at that time I was a lot more into technology than I was into tools. I was just buying the tools that I needed at the time to accomplish whatever I needed to fix around the house, as opposed to allowing myself to really get sucked in by all the different tool brands and comparing one brand to another. Now, you know, that Microsoft HoloLens, you know, really makes me happy that I didn't go all in on making a, you know, technology channel, because, you know, that's the state. That right there is going to be the condition of most technology, whether it be your smartphone, even, you know, electric cars, dare I say. And I'm, as I said, even though I'm happy that I had the experience of owning the HoloLens, it did not justify the cost in the long run. And I could have bought a Festool Conturo with that money. And as going back to the story, I looked on Craigslist several months ago, and somebody was selling a full Festool Conturo kit for about $2,800. Now that's $700 off of retail. And I thought about buying it, but I figured since it was so close to the regular price, which is I think $35.99, I just, you know, couldn't pull the trigger. I was waiting to see if the person would actually drop the price a little bit more, and but it sold for I assume the asking price, so I missed out on that particular deal. But I do wish now, you know, at that time, you know, I would have never known that. I didn't even know about Festool at that time, but hindsight's 2020. And if I would have spent that money on the Conturo, then even now in this economic environment, I would have a better chance of getting my money back, as opposed to that Microsoft HoloLens, of which you can find it, I think, on eBay for like $100, maybe even less than that now. It's a $4,000 piece of equipment, of which now I just powered it up after, I probably haven't powered it up in maybe a year. And now it appears to be completely inoperable. Same thing too, I have a Surface RT, which was the original Surface device that I purchased, and it's the same thing. Oftentimes I'm not, you know, because I don't cycle in and cycle out like I should, I end up holding on to these things that I purchased, you know, and thinking that I'm gonna figure something or find something to do with them later. And the Surface RT, you know, for whatever reason, it's not charging anymore. So that's, you know, also going by the wayside. But anyways, moving on from that, you know, tech tirade, I wanted to basically go ahead and touch on the question that I got today. So the question I have here on my little iPad, it says the TSV60 versus the TSC 55K with new blades on both, but do it pre-score with the 55, would there be a significant difference? So that's the question that I have. And so first and foremost, I think, which one is this? So this is the TSC 55 Ryobi. This is the origin, or this is the previous version, the last generation, which has the 2.2 millimeter curved blade. Right here, I have the TSC 55 KEB. This is the current gen. This one has the 1.8 millimeter curved blade. So the person is basically asking if this particular saw had a new blade on it, and I'm trying not to go too far past what they asked. I'm trying to be specific with the question. If I were to buy a brand new blade for this particular saw, would it be much of a difference by comparison if you put it up against this particular saw here, which is the Festool? This is the TSV60 KEB. These are the two saws being asked about. Now, first and foremost, what we're talking about here is a scoring cut versus a machine that has a scoring blade. Now, this particular saw right here, if I was to put a brand new blade and try to use it on something like laminate or melamine, I would imagine that I'm still going to have tear out. Now, what I could do is I could actually, you know, buy the new blade and try it out. However, for me personally, I kind of feel like that would not be the best test. What I think you would want to do is you want to compare the TSV60 with the TS55 55 with a brand new blade, but then you would also want to buy a laminate blade for this saw, and then that's where you would get your best comparison, simply because if you put all of these track saws have a laminate cutting blade, which is going to work better for laminates than the typical fine cut blade that comes on the saw. So I don't think it's a very good comparison overall. Now it can be done, however, and I may do that in the future, but for right now, today, I have to be honest, I spent my allowance, so I won't be buying a blade today. And the Festool blades aren't super cheap. I want to say the fine cut blade is probably somewhere between 50 and maybe 80 bucks. And the laminate blade, I think that one's a little bit pricier, maybe about 100 bucks or so. So that's something that I feel like I would have to do to actually give a real comparison between these two saws. Now, I would presume that the scoring blade on here that comes down in the front, this is dedicated for scoring, right? So it's made for the laminate feature or the scoring feature, whereas the regular blade itself is not necessarily made for that. And that's where I would lean more. This is just obviously a guesstimation. It's not an actual experiment. It's an interesting experiment to have, but this is dedicated to do that, whereas a typical TS55 with a standard stock blade is not braided or created to do that. You could cut laminate, but I think you're going to get results very similar to what you get with the Makita, because they have the same 1.5 millimeter curved blade. And I think in my previous cut comparison a long time ago, I believe that the 2.2 in some cases sometimes would give a cleaner cut than the 1.8. Not 100% sure why that is. I know the TS75 has a 2.2 blade, and the Ryobi cordless saw also has a 2.2 blade. And in my comparison cutting laminate, those two saws did better than the HK or the TSC55 saw with the 1.8 blade. So it's a test that can be done. I'm not going to do it right now, obviously, because I don't have the blades in the house. Now, if you were trying to make a purchase or trying to make a decision like that, if you're not cutting laminate all the time, you probably would want to just go ahead and get this particular saw here, which is the TSC55 KUB, and then buy a laminate cutting blade, which would probably take care of everything. And you have the capability of running it battery powered. Now, you can get this saw corded as well if that's what you wanted, but that cord is a plug-it cord. When you step up to the TS60 KEB and the TSV60 KEB, you're going to get a hardwired cord. So you have to consider that and ask yourself if that's something that you want to do. Personally, because I'm doing this YouTube channel, and because I'm not often in an environment where I can go into like a store and play around with tools to see what I really want to buy, then the only way that I can find out for myself is if I was blessed with the money, as I was with these, to be able to buy it, get it in my own shop, and try one against the other. For me, the only reason why I would buy this particular saw is if I was cutting laminate all the time. This saw gives you, in my opinion, the greatest range of everything that you can do, but it comes at a cost as far as weight. If you're hardly ever cutting laminate, I don't know if this saw would be the one that you would want to get. But for myself, I'm not great at things, but I am in my own mind some degree of a perfectionist, and that's what Festool labels this as. This saw is for the perfectionist. Now, obviously back here I have the TS60 as well. So this is also a hardwired saw. You can also get a laminate cutting blade for that. And that's actually, that's probably a video that I will do in the future, where I will buy the laminate cutting blades for this particular saw, which is 1.8. Maybe I'll get one for the Ryobi 2.2 kerf, and then also put laminate cutting blades on these saws, or get one to use back and forth between the TS60 and the TSV60, because I guess the best of both worlds, if you're really all about laminate, would be to get this saw with the scoring cut and put a laminate blade on here, which you could do that. So that would be like the ultimate for cutting stuff like melamine and so on and so forth. So probably wasn't clear in what I said, but I'm doing this off the top of my head. I was just thinking about it, and I was talking to my wife about how I would address the question. And I think I you know, kind of touched on it. Basically, can't do the test today because I don't have the blades in the shop. For myself personally in the shop, if I want to cut laminate, I can just use the saw. I don't have to worry about buying a laminate blade. The only reason why I would buy a laminate blade would be for a YouTube video, because, you know, there's a lot of money already invested in cutting laminate right here. Doesn't probably help you with your question that much, but I just wanted to kind of let you know that the question is not as linear as it's written. You know, you have to kind of look at the nuances of, you know, laminate blade versus a stock blade. A stock blade is not going to do as well as a laminate blade. That's why they have the two. And a stock blade is also not going to do as well as a dedicated melamine veneer cutting type of monster like this TSV60. Anyways, moving on from there, I am going to put out a video about the machine that I bought to make dowels myself. I went to Home Depot over the weekend and I bought a bunch of dowels because I'm going to start a little kind of like micro series, if you will, where basically I'm going to finally stop procrastinating and make some tool holders for the tools that I don't have tool holders for. And I'm going to use a lot of dowels for that because it seems like the easiest way to do things. Now, I have a stack of dowels over there that I bought from Home Depot because I was gonna do it yesterday and record a bunch of videos of me doing that. However, I kind of backed off of that simply because I realized as I was coming home, you spent a bunch of money on a dowel machine, and the only reason why you don't make your own dowels, which would be a lot cheaper than buying them, is because you haven't figured out how to use the machine. So I tinkered with it yesterday, I got it done, and I will be releasing a video about that. I also have a video coming up about a prototype of an overbed table that I made, so I just need to do the editing on that. Now, I do want to offer some background information. So I don't know, for whatever reason, this garage is super hot, and in some of my videos I'm just like dripping sweat. I'm kind of looking forward for the season change, but I know as soon as the season changes, I'm gonna be frozen in here and I'm gonna be in with a hat and wanting to wear gloves. So that's just one of the trials of not having a temperature controlled shop. So what I've been having a problem with is I have two Ryobi fans set up on the other side of the shop, and I'll have those blowing continuously on me, and then I'll have my wind air filter going on too, which makes it terrible for audio in the video. So there's like this noise, baseline noise going across all the videos. So I have to make the choice if I want to do a talking head video like this, because I'm just kind of standing here. Obviously I'm not necessarily breaking into a sweat yet, but once I get to moving and tinkering around in the shop, you know, I sweat easily, and then it just becomes kind of uncomfortable. You know, you're wiping sweat out of your eyes and all of these different things. So that's one of the things that's really hindered me working in the shop like this past summer. I mean, there's a lot of times I came out here, it's just way too hot to work, and I was hoping to be able to do some work outside, but there again, now you're out in the blazing heat, because my whole idea of having like a kind of canopy outside didn't work out. And after looking into different kind of building codes, you have to be very careful about building anything on property these days, simply because, you know, you got insurance companies that send drones overhead and they can increase your insurance or drop you in your insurance. So you got to be very mindful about the stuff that you have outside and around your house. So I kind of keep everything kind of contained now, because I don't feel as comfortable just doing anything the way that I want to do it. And also too, you know, the economy's changed, everything's changed. Recently had someone try to steal gas out of my tank, and so, you know, I don't know if I want to be going outside and having all my tools out on display so that people can just kind of look down and take inventory of what I own. I just kind of need to work within the space that I have, which is a hindrance for working on cars and stuff like that. Found the piece that I'm missing on the Saab. It's gonna cost me about 233 bucks. I'm gonna go ahead and order that, get that here, and try to work on that before it actually turns winter, and hopefully I can get that Saab back up and running. I haven't given up yet, so I got that I need to do. So I want to make the French cleat holders. I'm going to use the dowels, and it's going to be a little bit of a longer process simply because I need to go ahead and make the dowels and then make the tool holders. I'll probably be redoing all of the tool holders that I have on the wall as well, because if you take a look right here, you can see some of the tool holders that I built, and they're just rudimentary. Basically I used a router to dig out the area, and then I came back with a chisel to kind of make a rectangular portions, and I glued them and kind of like either nailed them or I screwed them from the rear. And so that's, you know, how I did these. So all of these can be improved upon, obviously. So we'll do that, and so that should be a nice series of videos that I can do or complete. So over here on this side of the shop, trying to figure out what I want to do with this portion of the shop. Now there's a couple things that I can do. So as you can see, I just put this up here. It's not supposed to look all that great. It's only so I can pull these triangles out, use them, and then I have a place to put them back. Before, I was just storing them under my MFT. I've mentioned so many times that I want to get everything out from up under my MFT, and I have procrastinated greatly on that. But, you know, hopefully I can, you know, start working towards that. Hopefully as the temperature changes, things can work out a little bit better. Now, some things I was thinking about was, before I put this up here, I was going to put some kind of a shelf up here and then use it to store like all of my little Festool tools over here. So this would be like more of a Festool backdrop, I was thinking. And then like over on the other side of the shop over there, I was gonna put my Ryobi tools up against the wall, and then take all my Ryobi tools that are on the wall on the opposite side of the camera and put those over there. And then I would have like a Milwaukee section and a Dowel section. And then I was just toying with the idea of like when I'm doing a video about a particular brand, the brands that I own anyway, I could kind of have that as the backdrop to kind of narrow the focus in on that particular brand and platform. I don't know, it's just an idea that I have, but the logistical space in the garage, it's not, I haven't come up with the right plan as of yet to make that work. So we'll have to see how that actually works out. I've thought about on many of occasions trying to, you know, sell off my Ryobi tools, but after doing some research online, basically battery powered tools for the most part are considered almost like, you know, rubbish or whatever, because the batteries cost more than the tools. So it's best to buy a lot of these tools, especially brands like Ryobi and such, with a battery kit so that you can get, you know, life out of the tool. I think I'm down to like maybe 3 Ryobi batteries, maybe, I think 2 in the whole shop. And I use all my Ryobi tools with those 2, I think they're 4 or 6 amp hour batteries, and that's fine. But I have all this collection of Ryobi tools, and some of them I still use from time to time. Like I use my grinder quite a bit, simply because even though I have the Festool grinder here, I actually just recently pulled this out of the sustainer so that I can use it more, because the Ryobi one's just right there on the wall. So I was debating on whether I wanted to just, you know, put the Festool tools up on the wall, both as a backdrop, but then also to make it easier for me to grab them and put them away. Because if you look here on the bench all the way down here, you know, I'm having to shuffle things around in order to use this cut station, and you know, it's just not super efficient. Sometimes my mind just gets kind of pulled in multiple directions, you know, simply because, you know, I could easily add some T-track to this to get me some repeatable cuts and a fence, but it's still a more limited range than the Capex 60 on the opposite side on the Capex stand. And as a result, I'm like, okay, do I want to spend money in that way, buying T-track to flesh this out, or would I rather just, you know, wait, save a little bit more money and get the Capex stand and then move on from there? I've also been baiting and talking a lot, you know, just looking at the investment that I've made in my tools, and then, you know, looking at the progression of how far I've actually gone so far, because it's challenging, you know, when you have, you know, when you have such a limited amount of time in the shop to do these things, it's hard to kind of get good. You know, it's not really something that you can rush, and you know, I'm not interested in trying to lose any more digits or anything like that. So if I'm tired, if I'm distracted, I just don't do anything for that particular day. So, oh, just a little tip. So also with this Daddy Share Space Daily, I do want to, you know, offer some tips for things that I've experienced. Like we all have life experience, and we all have learned things. And, you know, in this Daddy Share Space platform, I want to share my experiences with you guys that are, you know, that are viewing the channel, and maybe it can help you out. Maybe it won't, maybe you already know, and that's fine, but if you don't. So just something that you should know, you know, as long as Best Buy is still open and available to be shopped at if it's available where you are. So I was talking about this maybe in another video. So they have Total Tech, which is a membership you could pay around 200 and something bucks to get a 2-year warranty on everything you buy. And then they also have their typical warranties that you can buy. It's like a 5-year warranty. And just a little tip that, like, if you're gonna buy a Dyson vacuum, so my Dyson vacuum got damaged not too long ago. So because I had bought a 5-year warranty, I was able to take it back to Best Buy. Once I got it to Best Buy, I was able to get the store credit for the amount that we paid for it because it was under the warranty. And then I took that money with my wife up and I let her pick out another vacuum, of which we have. So we have a new Dyson vacuum in the shop. I highly recommend the Dyson vacuum. They're very expensive, but once we went to the Dyson, you know, we never went back. It's easy to carry all around the house to make sure you don't have to lug up a big canister. And the fact that it doesn't have a cord is it's life-changing for a vacuum. Another thing that I wanted to share from my own personal experience, I bought my first home, I want to say around when I was 24, maybe 25-ish. That was back in the Midwest. It was only like $24,000. But I've always had a carpet cleaner wherever I've lived, whether it be a home that I own or a home that I've rented or an apartment that I've rented. And the reason being is because, you know, yes, you can go to your local Safeway or, you know, whatever grocery store and rent one of these machines. It is life-changing to own a carpet cleaning machine for yourself, because basically anytime you spill something, you can get it up right then. And you keep the quality, or you keep your, you know, your carpet in newer condition if you run that carpet machine on a regular basis. You know, I would usually, when I was really militant with it, you know, I could do it upwards of once a month, once every month and a half, once every 2 months. You won't regret spending money on a carpet machine. As far as brands is concerned, I'm not really that deep into it. All of mine are Bissell's. I know I had a Hoover many years ago. There was more a bigger steam machine, and when it finally gave up the ghost, I moved on to the Bissell that I have now. But I have the Bissell carpet cleaning machine, but then I also, my wife likes to use the tiny green machine, and she uses that for spot cleaning. And then we evolved and I bought the battery powered carpet machine, and I use that a lot of times, like for very small spills or also in the truck. So, you know, there's a whole line, and they all have their special place or whatever. And but anyways, I recommend that if you are a person that, you know, like if you are a renter. I know when I was renting apartments, I always got my deposit back because of the way that I would take care of the apartments that I rented. And one of the things that helped me to do that was to own a carpet cleaning machine. So that's just another tip that I wanted to share. I am going to start back writing posts for my Daddy Share Space blog, and I want to create a forum there. And in that forum, what I'm hoping to generate is basically a situation where people like me, so like I'm a man, right, and I have my wife and I have 3 daughters, so there's a lot of estrogen in the house here, and sometimes you just want to connect with other men. You know, I envision like it's like the water cooler. You know, you get around the water cooler and you talk tools, you talk technology, you talk sports, all of these different things. Now, I don't go as deeply into technology as I used to, simply because I've kind of evolved within myself. I still, you know, I have my Xboxes that I play, I have my PlayStations that I play. I haven't touched VR in who knows how long. I'm kind of afraid to even pull that equipment out because I'm thinking it's probably going to be acting just like this here, which is disappointing. So, you know, hence why I've kind of moved over to trying to find a lot more joy in working with my hands, working with tools and stuff like that. It's a very good, for me, it's a very good and constructive use of time. And when I get fatigued, it's easy to put down. So this is the first episode of Daddy Share Space Daily. There will be times where you'll actually see me doing something with my tools in a Daddy Share Space Daily video. So it's not just going to be like a talking head, but when the moment strikes, I can, you know, share whatever it is that's on my mind on this Daddy Share Space Daily, and it kind of gives me a little bit more of an opportunity to, you know, kind of interact with the people that that watch this channel, so they can kind of help me to see what it is that they would be interested in seeing within, you know, obviously the restraints of, you know, my budget and what I already have in the shop. Because, you know, as we all know, the, you know, economy is not quite the same as it used to be. I'm hoping that it recovers, because, you know, there are a lot of things that I would be interested in still purchasing for my shop. However, you know, as some of my viewers have mentioned, you know, I have everything that I really need. I just need to figure out how to put it all together, and not just put it all together in a system approach, but also put it together as far as getting my skill level up to where I'm making something useful and tangible. Now, I do have to say, for myself personally, I mean, I'm very grateful and thankful. Like, I had a great day at work today, but I'm grateful that I make my living as a registered nurse, and that, you know, I mean, obviously many of you know, I mean, I couldn't make a living doing woodworking, not at this stage, because I'm not at that point. But I'm happy that I'm in a position that I can kind of tinker in this way. And it seemed like one of the more tangible things that I could do, aside from, you know, auto mechanics. You know, I can, you know, get a lot of tools in this space, but I can't get a lot of, you know, I can't have a lot of cars, you know, to be able to work on, and so on and so forth. So the Daddy Share Space Daily is going to give me the opportunity, like maybe when I'm at lunch at work, you know, I could take a little notepad out, jot down some things, and then I could come back and kind of share with you guys, because I have lots of different, you know, thoughts that go through my mind about, you know, whether it be tool purchases, you know, different things. You know, maybe I could learn from you guys as far as, like, you know, life choices that you made that maybe I am unaware of that may help me and my family. I'll leave this whole video, I'll wrap it up with the new lineup of Milwaukee tools that are coming out, the ones from the pipeline event. They look like they have some pretty cool tools. I know they have a sander that looks very closely, it kind of has the same shape as the RO90, which is the small Rotex sander that Festool has, and I've already watched a video on YouTube about it. I was actually considering getting it when it does drop. However, once I saw the kind of performance that it had, when someone's basically putting a little bit of pressure, you know, it kind of reminds you that it doesn't have that Rotex functionality. So even though it's battery powered, I had to consider for myself that, okay, the battery life is probably not going to be amazing, but then also the fact that you could put pressure on it and stop it from spinning. The way I look at these things is, if I already had the Rotex 90 in my shop, then I would consider that just for like light things here and there. But since I don't have the Rotex 90 in my shop, which I think is $525, the way I look at it is I would have to subtract I think it's $179 from the Rotex to get that other tool, which is not going to give me that full experience that I would be wanting. So to me, at least in my book, it would still be more of, I would buy the RO90 first, and then later, if I was just basically trying to be, what is the word for it? You know, like hyper convenient, you know, like, how would I explain it? I guess the analogy that I would use, or not really analogy, the explanation would be, I don't have a Plane-X in my shop. Now, if things go well, I do hope to get the Plane-X, the big one, and pair it with my CT48 vacuum. Now, of course, I don't do drywall like that, but you know, a convenient tool to have would be, you know, like the drywall sander that I have, which is the DeWalt one, which is battery powered, that you could take anywhere and everywhere. So, you know, it's a similar tool. You know, like you got the Milwaukee sander, and then you've got the Festool RO90, the 3.5 sander for Milwaukee. So they kind of are going in the same direction, but it's not the same capacity. It's not the same top to bottom type of coverage. Now, in the, you know, if money were no object, I could make the argument, at least in my head, for both. Now, if you're trying to be financially responsible and frugal, then one or the other is obviously the better solution. As of yet, Festool doesn't have a battery-powered drywall sander. It would be nice to have the Plane-X, because then you got that all day long, being able to do the job fully. But if you had a smaller job where you just going in, hitting a little bit, and it could be all contained with, say, the DeWalt FlexVolt battery and the DeWalt FlexVolt vacuum, then, you know, I feel like there's an application for that. That's a luxury for sure. But if you had a bigger job, then you would want to go with something that was corded, like the whole Festool system top to bottom. And you also have to factor in, as I reported on that FlexVolt vacuum, they didn't even make, you know, they're not like Festool in the sense that I bought my battery powered vacuum and there are bags that I can buy for it. I can buy a cyclone for it. There's all these different things that I could do. I still can't find a bag that fits properly inside of the DeWalt FlexVolt vacuum. So I kind of look at that as a bit of a miss for that, but it's still convenient. I mean, I can't argue. If you're willing to put an oversized bag in there, it's still a convenient option if you are in an area where you didn't have power. That's where you're going to win over the Festool. So I'm kind of trying to use the same argument. If you want the full feature, you would buy the RO90 and deal with the cord and the integration and the vacuum and the continuous power and that gear drive mode. But if you're doing something lighter, if you don't want to have to worry about a cord, you know, you want that, you know, that battery power, whatever, then you would buy the 3.5-inch Milwaukee sander. So that's just me sharing my personal opinion of how I justify, you know, the pathway of purchasing. You know, sometimes you look at buying something cheaper because you think it's going to save you money. However, I'm actually studying this woodworking course. I have a book that I bought many years ago at the thrift store, and I was going through it, and early on in the book it basically stated that you should buy the best tools that you can afford, because a lot of people, some people actually are turned off, whether it be from the trades or from doing creative hobby type stuff with wood, simply because they have a poor experience with the tools that they're using. So this course basically says that, you know, it's best to buy what you can, the best that you can afford, and to be mindful of the fact that sometimes if you're not able to buy the higher quality tool, to not take that as gospel, as far as like, oh, this is not for me, simply because you're not getting the results, because you're, as one of the commenters said on one of my videos, that they progress from regular tools or regular different brands, and then they moved on to the Festool brand over time, and they said that they felt like that they were fighting less with the tool. So I mean, your mileage may vary, you may feel differently, but obviously it's what your experience is. And I know a lot of people only have experience with a certain tool brand. It doesn't matter what the brand is. And so it's kind of like being a very experienced carpenter or any kind of worker. You learn to work around, whether it be the deficits or the, you know, the quirks of a particular brand, and you can get to the same end result. When you start off, you know, as a newbie though, if you don't have someone that has that knowledge already to kind of give you that information and tell you, this is what you need to do, this is how you take care of this, this is the direction you want to go in. If you don't have someone like that, then you may find yourself being turned off simply because you're not able to get to the end result that you want. And you know, materials are not free. It's not as though, you know, you buy tools and the materials that you work with are free. So every time you mess up, that's money spent as well. So, you know, that's something you have to consider. Oh, because I took back the Milwaukee compressor, I'm disappointed that that didn't work out. Man, it was so convenient having that 18-volt compressor. It was quiet, it was perfect. It was just what my wife ordered as far as like keeping the noise down as she tries to record videos up in her office, which is above the garage. However, I did find that Harbor Freight makes a ultra quiet type of compressor, which sometime probably next year I may end up getting one of those. And I want to get one of those hose reels too, because right now the way that my hose is in the shop is just not super convenient. Anyways guys, so hopefully if everything works out well, we will do this again tomorrow. It probably won't be this long, so I don't want you to, you know, get the idea that it'll be like these hour-long videos of me just talking all the time. It's just mainly going to be, you know, the ideas that I have and different things that I'm sharing to kind of get some feedback for myself. My blog, I want to create a forum where we as men can come on there and actually ask questions, answer questions one to another, so that we can all kind of grow together as far as skill set and you know, share ideas. It's just, you know, that's kind of how I created this, or why I created Daddy Share Space. It's a situation where I'm just doing my own thing, right? Of course, I can do all of this behind closed doors. I don't have to put it on the internet, but I want people, you know, to be inspired to do, you know, to challenge themselves to do different things, right? You know, my own personal testimony: I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't club. Couple other little fast facts: I've not been to an AMC Cinemark movie theater in about 9 years. The last movie that I saw at the drive-in was 5 years ago. I've not been to a restaurant, something like an Applebee's or whatever the case may be, in about 11 years. I don't spend my money in those ways, and I'm a very decisive person. If I go into a place of business and I don't get the service that I am hoping for, I will never go back. I will never go back, and I will seal it off as if it never existed. And there are so many different things, as far as in, you know, like I think the last time I went to a restaurant, my daughter found hair in her food, and we got a different kind of treatment than, and you know, everything is verifiable, right? So if you go into a restaurant, just giving you an example, if you go into a restaurant and you're a waiter, doesn't matter who they are, what they look like, whatever, and you find hair in your child's food, and the waiter brings over the manager and they just say, "Oh, that's great that you found that," and then they go away, and yeah, they give her a new plate of food or so on and so forth, but you know, that's all that's done. And then you go ask a different waiter and say, "Hey, you know, I'm just curious, in the same restaurant, at the same setting, what is the normal policy for if someone finds hair in their food?" And they're like, "Oh, you get your meal for free, blah, 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 blah." You know, so you shouldn't get two different stories from the same people, or from the same establishment, right? So that let me know, right, that, okay, we were being treated a little bit different than how other patrons would be treated. And I vote with my dollars, right? I vote with my dollars. That's just how I do it. You know, if I get bad service from somewhere, that's it for me. I'm done. Anyways, guys, thanks for taking time to watch the video. Hopefully you enjoy the content. If you don't, you know, thumbs it down if you need to. If you do, thumbs it up if you'd like to. But like I said, you know, I'm just sharing. Hopefully you guys find something of value in this, and if you don't, I understand. All right, guys, thank you for taking time to watch the video. I'll see you in my next one.